Hello. Look who's here. My baby. I love you. I just love you so much. I love you. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is my very first update for my Pan That Palette of 2025, and as a majority of you voted for, I am panning my Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, which I am just so excited about. And even though this palette is going to be a challenge for me this year, I'm up for that challenge and I'm already having so much fun panning this palette. So I'm going to jump right on into this video, but if you are new here and just discovering me for the first time, please consider subscribing. I hope you like what you see, and go ahead and give this video a quick thumbs up if you're into this type of content before you forget, and leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you. Let's jump right on in. Before I show you what this palette is looking like today, check out what it was looking like at the beginning of the year. Here's what it was looking like when I first brought it into the project. At that time, I had just one pan on it, and that is in the bottom left corner there, Peaches and Cream. My goals for last month were to use all the shades at least 2 times. I wanted to use Caramelized at least 10 times, and I wanted to focus in on Georgia. And here's what the palette is looking like today. And as you can see, it does look a little bit different. We do have one new pan right there in Caramelized. So that focusing in on it got me to a goal of a new pan on there. And I've definitely expanded pan in Peaches and Cream and just gotten more dips in other shades as well. But we still have a long road to go on this one. But I'm just super excited with what I've been able to do in just this first month of focusing on this palette. So I'm going to go through each of these shades individually. I don't think I'm going to show you up close images of every single one of them, unless you want that. We'll see what I decide to do in the footage. Let me know in the comments if you think that's necessary. It is fun to see the shadows up close and watch them getting more and more used, as well as seeing the pans expand on those shades that have pan on them. But I'm just not very familiar with this palette right now and how I'm going to be doing these updates. I'll probably just continue to do them as I normally do, and it seems like you guys have liked that. So let me know in the comments if you have strong feelings about that, and I'll just keep going with that for now. So I'm just gonna go through each of these shades one at a time, starting off with that first shade, White Peach. So White Peach I've been using almost every single day as an inner corner highlight. My goal was just to reach for it 2 times, and using it as an inner corner highlight, I was able to reach for it 21 times. And I think you are going to see a difference in that pan from last month to this month. This shade is very prone to hard pan, so I've had to scrape away some hard pan every so often throughout this month. It just gets a little bit of moisture on there and easily forms that hard pan, so I've been scraping it when that does come up. But I have a nice little dip going on White Peach. Still nowhere near a pan, but I think that I will hit pan on that one quite easily by using it as an inner corner highlight as well as a brow bone highlight. I really do enjoy it. It's not super sparkly, but it does add a nice brightness. Let's move on to Luscious, this next shade here. Again, I had a 2-use goal on that one. I reached for it 8 times during the past month. Here's what Luscious was looking like last month. Again, I had a 2-use goal on it. I was able to reach for it 8 times, and I'm hoping that the dip on that one will be looking a little bit deeper in those 8 uses. And that's one that I hope to hit pan on very soon. I'm gonna try and focus in on it in the next month and hopefully have that as my new pan next update. Next shade is Just Peachy. Here's what it was looking like last month. My goal was to reach for it 2 times, and I was able to reach for it 3 times. And this one still has a long way to go on it. Here's what it's looking like. The surface is just starting to be disturbed, but we don't have much of a dip forming in that one yet. But that's one I really hope to reach into a lot more in the next month. Now that we are in February, I'm going to be really enjoying reaching for those pinky tones, and hopefully I'll have a bigger dip on it by the next update. The next shade in this row is Bless Her Heart. Here's what Bless Her Heart was looking like last month. I reached for it 3 times, so 1 over my 2-use goal, and here's what it's looking like today. And this one too has a slight disturbance, a little bit more than the last shade, Just Peachy. There's a dip starting to form, but nothing too impressive as of yet. The next shade is Tempting. Here's what Tempting was looking like last month. I don't think there was much use on it quite at all. I reached for it 7 times in the past month, so I'm really happy with that. I mostly used it as a liner. And here's what Tempting is looking like today. And you will see that there is a slight little dip starting to form in this shade. And this one, again, is going to take me a long time to hit pan on, but I'm just going to be chipping away at it every single time I do my makeup, and hopefully that will get me a pan eventually. And that brings me to the last shade in this row, which is Charmed, I'm Sure. And this has been my brow powder for the past month. So here's what Charmed I'm Sure was looking like at the beginning of the month. I reached for it 17 times, and this is what it's looking like today. And you can see there is a slight little dip starting to form in the center there, and also you can see a little bit of hard pan. I think this shadow is just very prone to hard pan, but it's nothing that I can't work around. So let's keep going now to that second row and talk about Nectar. Here's what Nectar was looking like last month. It already had a slight little dip formed on there, but I reached for it 19 times in the past month, and here's what it's looking like today. And it should have a much more significant dip after those 19 uses. I absolutely love this shade. I use it on my lid as well as on my inner corner. I mix it with White Peach and also just use it by itself sometimes, and I don't think I'll have any problem hitting pan on that shade whatsoever. The next shade in here is Cobbler. My goal was to reach for that one 2 times as well, and I did exactly reach for it 2 times. And that one has quite a ways to go on it. It doesn't have much of a disturbance on that shadow yet, but it's something that I'll be focusing on pretty soon, and hopefully we'll get to see more progress on it in that time. The next shade here is Candied Peach. It's a really pretty like matte pinky coral shade, and I'm excited to reach for this one this month. It's going to be one of my focus shades for the month. Here's what Candied Peach was looking like last month. It had a little bit of a dip formed on there. I reached for it 4 times in the past month, and here's what it's looking like today. I also dug my eyeshadow brush in here, so there's a little bit of a gouge in that shadow, but this is one I'm hoping to get a lot of use on in the month of February and hopefully have a nice dip on it by the next update. The next shade here is Bellini, one of my favorite shimmer shades in this palette, and I would also like to work on this one quite a bit this month. Here's what it was looking like last month. I reached for it 2 times in the past month, and here's what it's looking like today. This shade also has a slight little disturbance on there, but not much yet. But it's one that I will hope to have a bigger dip on in the next update. And that brings us to this first purple shade. This is the shimmery purple, and it is called Peach Pit. Here's what Peach Pit was looking like last month. I reached for it 2 times this month, mainly as a liner, and here's what Peach Pit is looking like today. I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference on this shade. This is definitely gonna be one of my challenge shades this year, and I'm really gonna have to start reaching for it if I hope to get the progress on it that I want to get on it this year. Eventually a pan, right? This one will be great in the outer corner and just the outer part of my eyelid for a deepening shade. I just need to dive into some purple looks, and you know that I love purple so much, so that shouldn't be a problem for me to do. And the last shade in this row is Delectable. I've also been using this as a liner shade. Here's what it was looking like last month. I reached for it 5 times in the past month, and here's what it's looking like today. And I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference in those 5 uses, but I'm happy it got at least more than 2, and that's just a little bit closer to pan than I was at the beginning. And moving on to this last row, and let's talk about Peaches and Cream. So here's what Peaches and Cream was looking like last month. I reached for the shade 19 times. It was my lid setting shade, and here's what it's looking like today. And I think you will enjoy that nice big pan on Peaches and Cream that was not there before. I'm really satisfied with the size of this pan right now, and this is a shade that I think I will be able to finish up pretty quickly in this project, and that's exciting. I didn't hope to finish up any of these shades, but this is quite a powdery eyeshadow, and it's one that I can reach for every single day. So I'm excited to see this one progress even more. Let's move on to Georgia. Georgia was one of my focus shades this month. Here's what it was looking like last month. I reached for it 26 times, and here's what it's looking like today. And this one is just not nearly as powdery as Peaches and Cream next to it. Even after 26 uses, there isn't much of a dip in there, but there is definitely a dip that's noticeable. I reached for this as a first transition shade. It's actually a perfect, like very subtle transition shade in the crease. And then I also mixed it with Peaches and Cream and used it as my setting shade as well. So got a lot of use on it, and that's one that I'm sure I will hit pan on quite easily. It just might take some time. Let's move on to that next shade, Caramelize, the most exciting thing for this update, my new pan on this palette. So here's what Caramelize was looking like as of last month. It had a nice little dip in it, and my goal was to reach for it 10 times. I was actually able to reach for it 14 times, and here's Caramelize today. And you can see I have that tiny little pan on there, and I'm very, very satisfied with that. I'm just happy to have one new pan on this palette, and I'm sure as I continue to reach into this shade throughout the year, I will be expanding that pan, and that will also be satisfying to see. But for now, I'm just happy to have another pan. That means I am 2 pans down and just 16 more to go in 11 months. I think we can do it. We're gonna try really hard. Hello. Beetlejuice is here again. The shade next to that is Puree, one of my favorite mattes in this palette and one that I've been reaching for a ton. Here's what Puree was looking like last month, and I reached for it 11 times this month. Here's what it's looking like today. And I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference with those 11 uses. These mattes are very firmly pressed, very pigmented, and it's gonna be a long road ahead in trying to hit pan on these ones. But I just know that with consistent use, we're gonna get there eventually, and I am excited to just go along on this challenge with all of you. Right, Beetlejuice? Will you show everyone your cute face? He just wants to be on my lap and annoying. You want to talk about the next one? The next shade there is Summer Yum, my other favorite matte brown. It's the warmer matte brown, and when I want a warmer look, that's what I'm reaching for. Here's what Summer Yum was looking like last month. It had a nice little dip in it already. I reached for it 7 additional times, and here's what it's looking like today. And I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference with those 7 uses. This one also has a little bit of hard pan that I've been needing to scrape away, and I'm gonna do that right after this update. And just help me to get to that goal that much faster. But it's a really pretty shade, and I love wearing it. I think I have it in my crease today, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's Puree. But one of these shades is always in my crease, just depending if I have a more neutral look or a more warm tone look. And the last shade in this palette is Talk Derby to Me. Here's what Talk Derby to Me was looking like. Hi. Here's what Talk Derby to... Here's what Talk Derby was looking like last month when I first brought it into the project. This is such a weird shade. It's like glittery and black at the same time. I've been using it as a liner. I reached for it 4 times this month, and here's what it's looking like today. And I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference at all in those 4 uses, but we got uses on it all the same. So those are all of the shades, but I've also been recording the weight on this palette. In January, the weight of this palette was at 210.8 grams, and today it weighs 210.29 grams. So I am down 0.51 grams from last month to this month, which is not amazing, but pretty good. And I'm just excited to go into this palette even harder. I really just took it easy this month just to kind of get to know it a little bit, but now I'm excited to make some bigger goals on this palette. So for next month, I want to up my uses on each of these shades from 2 up to 3. I think I can do that. I was able to do that on most of these shades. There was only 2 shades in here, Bellini and Peach Pit, that I used just 2 times. So I think reaching for all of them at least 3 will not be difficult. Maybe I should even say 4. I'm gonna go with 3 and just be happy if I get to 4. And then I'm gonna reach for Candied Peach at least 10 times. I think I'm gonna have to focus on that in order to get a nice dip on it formed. And I'm also just going to try and hit 1 new pan. That's gonna be kind of a vague goal, but what I'm going to tell myself now is that I'm gonna focus in on Nectar and Luscious and hopefully get a pan on one of those 2 shades by the next update. I think I can do that. If I reach for Luscious, let's say maybe like 10 or 12 times, I think I should get a pan on it. And it's such a beautiful shade. It should be really easy for me to reach for and hit that goal on. As well as Nectar, which is my inner corner highlight. That's something that I won't really have to think about reaching for, and I might just get a pan on it if I give it just a little bit extra effort. So that is it for my Pan That Palette update for the month. I am just so thrilled to be panning this palette. I'm loving it so much. It deserves the attention that it's getting, and I think we already have some nice change from when we started up until now, and I'm just excited to continue to chip away at it and see what kind of progress I can make on it this year, and hopefully meet that ultimate goal that I have of hitting pan on every single one of these shades. And who knows, maybe I'll even finish 1, maybe 2 of these shades. That would be great as well. That's all from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a quick thumbs up before you leave. But I appreciate you so much just for being here and watching this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world this video finds you, and I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Bye.